Soil. You rated the soil, the importance of soil, a little earlier, and I heard one person that gave it a 1. That's okay.
I had the scale wrong.
Oh, you were going to give it number 1. You gave it a 10. Okay, great. Chinese have a saying, soil is the mother of all things. I think that's pretty appropriate. How many organisms are there in a heaping tablespoon of soil?
9 billion.
How many?
9 billion.
Oh, you've been reading somewhere, haven't you? Did you read one of those publications?
I heard that before, though.
Okay. 9 billion. Now, what does 9 billion mean to you? What's the population of the Earth, human population?
6.7 billion.
6.7 billion. Let's say 6 billion, just round it off, round it down. Well, 9 billion is 1.5 times the human population of the Earth in one heaping tablespoon of soil. So keep that in mind. Soil is also an essential link in the cycle of life. I had to give a lecture or presentation to 6th graders. Oh my gosh, what a challenge. You know, we got to get rid of all this, excuse the use of the term, the crap we use as far as nomenclature and terminology, and settle down and deal with just basic terms. And what is it, The Lion King, the movie, and the cycle of life? The circle of life, I think is what they say. And this is what we have on Earth. The ancient Greeks, what are the elements of life on Earth, according to the Greeks? Somebody help me out. One is what? Sun. They say fire. Okay? Okay. Sun or fire, air or wind, water. What am I missing? Earth. Right. That's the 4. Basically the same things here. Soil, plants. The intermediary between all life on Earth is dependent on the ability to transform the building blocks of water, carbon dioxide, and other elements through plants, which are the photosynthetic factory, using the energy from sun to produce food and oxygen, the very air we breathe, which is used both by us and by microorganisms to start the whole cycle over again. And it's done there in the soil as well. But this is it. And so as we study the soil and as you work with your students, this is a wonderful opportunity to see the basis of life going on every day. Sustainability strategies and indicators. We've got to have some way of knowing where we're at with determining how we're moving forward in assessing our sustainability. I like to believe that the soil organic matter is probably one of the most important indicators that we can use for the health of the soil. So to conserve organic matter is one of our key strategies. And the indicators we might use for this is to study the change in time and space of change in organic matter. Ed George was talking about carbon sequestration in soil. Well, that's all that is. Taking that carbon dioxide from the atmosphere and changing it from a radiative active element that's increasing global warming and fixing it in the soil as carbon. And how are we going to do that? Well, there's a couple ways we can do that. We can look at the color of soil. And each of you has in your notebook one of these soil organic matter color charts. It was developed by, mine doesn't say, I covered it up. It should say something like Alexander Pope, I believe. Spent a career developing this soil organic matter color charts for grassland soils. It works in Nebraska. It works in the steppe country of Russia. It works in Argentina. It works in many areas of the world, and it's simple and easy to use. Just follow the directions. This one you can try at home. Minimize soil erosion. by increasing the infiltration of water, reducing compaction, reducing runoff. And today you'll get some very good hands-on experience, or at least demonstrated experience, with Mike Kucera. When you get tired of hearing all my philosophies and everything, he'll give you some really good simple tests you can use and measure in your classrooms. And we have indicators such as EC probes and strips here that we can use. Soil strips. I've got an EC probe right here. One of the things I learned from farmers, they don't want to carry a bunch of stuff with them. So I developed this hand probe. Fits right on your belt loop. You can turn it on. It's got a temperature gauge with it, so you measure the conductivity of soil. You can measure the conductivity of water. I was given a bottle of water this morning, and I said, wow, I wonder what that is. So I checked the conductivity. It was 0. It means it's pure water. Not a lot of salt in there. Also, test strips, nitrate and nitrite nitrogen content. You can use test strips to do that. I checked this water this morning too. It was 0 and 0 for nitrate and nitrite. And last but not least, to make better use of our renewable resources. And in this case, we want to use things like the electrical conductivity for measuring the status of the soil. It'll tell us how many salts are in there and how much we're potentially can lose or how much we have for plant production. And then we need to look at how we synchronize the availability of soluble nitrogen with the plant needs during the growing year to reduce losses of those resources. For me, the development of the USDA Soil Quality Test Kit has been a major factor, and I can't give thanks. There's just so many people that have worked on this kit. I guess I should first give thanks to my wife, because there's a lot of times when I was developing the kit that we traveled the country and she'd be so embarrassed because I'd go into a Salvation Army thrift shop or something to pick up silver butter knives or silver teaspoons instead of paying $5 for a stainless steel spatula or something. I'd go in and buy for 25 cents. I'd get a silver butter knife, and it would work just as well as anything else. And then also in this this quest for the perfect can for making a ring for infiltration, I dove in a lot of dumpsters, and that really embarrassed her, looking for just the perfect can. Well, they don't design cans for pounding in the soil. They design cans for taking pressures this way and this way to contain food. But I did ultimately find aluminum irrigation pipe that works just fine for developing some of these infiltration rings and whatnot. The NRCS has done a wonderful job developing this test kit, and they've developed a test kit guide to go with it. It's really detailed, but it's quite good. More than anything, this test kit, I think, has helped us translate our science into practice. And that's the ultimate of what we want to do. And it has facilitated partnerships. This is the most exciting thing to me. Can't remember this farmer's last name, Ken something, from Akron, Colorado. And there's 2 NRCS workers there, Mike Susick, who's a soil fertility guy, and Josh Saunders, who's a range specialist. But they just had this simple density tool that they were checking. It's just a probe with a ball on the end of it to check the compaction layers in the soil. They could use it to check soil moisture status. But it provided them an opportunity right there on site for working with the farmer. And that's what we all need. We need these tools that can be used for working right there to answer a question, not taking a soil sample and sending it to a laboratory somewhere to somebody who has no idea what the conditions are in the field, but right on site. This is another book, Methods for Assessing Soil Quality. This is mostly for professionals. I edited this book, but I've got another book coming out, and it's going to be, the first one was a blue book. It dealt with philosophies. This one is a green book, and it dealt with details, real detailed, algorithms. Actually, it's a funny story, sorry to detract, but I worked with a 6th grader in South Carolina, and I had some pretty complicated algorithms for some mathematical relationships that I was developing between water-filled pore space and microbial activity. This kid was going through the associative and distributed laws of mathematics at the time. So I said, will you give me a hand simplifying these equations? And he did. And you know, we got them simplified into one short little equation. And you make one calculation and you get the answer that you need to have. So it doesn't have to be complicated, but we have to work together. And the Australian farmers were pretty stuffed with us. They got upset. He says, don't give me your indicators of soil quality. I need help from scientists with tools for management, more than indicators of soil quality. And I've learned that what we need is to get partnerships going, to get knowers working together with doers. And you never know who the knowers are going to be. They may be the student. They may be the teacher. The doers can either be the teacher or the student, but it's a mix-up. I've tried to put some measures, and there's a publication in your book there. You have some dividers there. If you take the table of contents, which has numbered 1 through 9, and you put your dividers on each of those sections in your notebook and number them 1 through 9, you'll be able to find your way around this notebook a little easier. And I appreciate Matt and Ed for going out and getting some of those dividers. I think you'll find it much easier. And if you don't have dividers in your book now, there are some available up here you can get. In the one publication I have in there is this table, Measuring Agricultural Sustainability at the Farm Level. And this is what we need. We have to have indicators that are going to meet farmer and society needs, and also meet the needs for resource and environmental conservation. And we know these things. We need acceptable yields, profits, and risk. And there's ways to measure those things, but we also need to know what the energy ratio is, not only the dollar value, but also the total energy we're using and output to inputs. And then we need resource environmental conservation, adequate acceptable soil organic matter, soil depth, soil cover, and leachable salts. Soil organic matter, we can use a variety of measurement techniques, one of which, and probably the most important, is just to look at the color of the soil. Use the color chart to tell where you're at least as a first step. Soil depth, how deep is that soil? How much has been eroded? Soil cover, how's the soil protected from erosion with crop residue or growing plants? And last but not least is leachable salts and electrical conductivity. And I'm finding more and more that electrical conductivity is a key factor in studying soils and measuring soil conditions.